What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Junkyard. I'm TheJunkernaut, and this is the world's largest Nerf mod video! Believe it or not, the title and the fact that I just called this video that is not clickbait. Now, I'm sure that at some point in the history of the world, somebody has sat down and modded like 50 plus blasters all in one sitting. I've never seen it, and so I just wanted to share my journey with you guys. It's not like it's the most exciting video in the whole world, but it is kind of a cool project, and you guys get to watch the time lapse of how I did all that. I'm actually not sure what the final count on how many blasters I modded was, so let's go ahead and count those now. So apparently it was only 38 blasters. For some reason I thought it was around 50. There might have been a few that I decided not to mod for one reason or another, but all the same, only 38 blasters is still a ton to modify. And besides the fact that I left as much of the time lapse in as possible to ensure that there wasn't any cheating going on, I'll just show you all the bins of blasters that I could have modified or have already modified that I didn't include in the count. Like all these. Or all these, or all those, or these, or these, or those. If you're wondering why I had so many Nerf blasters that needed to be modded, it's actually because I run a small event business with my friend Curtis. And while we're not Nerf specific or exclusive, we do use Nerf guns for a lot of our games and a lot of our events. Partially because they're cheap, partially because they're safe, but most importantly because we can get permission to actually use them in buildings. So we can get permissions from schools or churches to use their property to throw kind of themed event. You know, it could be post-apocalyptic or zombie infestation or alien invasion or themed after a movie like Lord of the Rings or Hunger Games. But it does mean that we have quite a large equipment and prop library that we're constantly adding to so that we can just have more options and more fun things that we can do. I went ahead and did a little bit more of an in-depth mod on each of the 3 principal blasters that then get successively modded the same way for a number of more. I know this video is a little bit more niche, but I do thank you guys for checking it out, and I just want to let you know that I do have some more bow, weapon, and prop builds that are coming up pretty soon. I just, you know, if I'm going to have to be doing a project like this anyways, I might as well film it and just share it with you guys if you want to check it out. So, thanks again for watching. I'm TheJunkernaut, and I'll see you in the next one. The first blaster that we're going to be getting into and modding a bunch of is the Boomco Burst Wave. Now these blasters are a air-powered shotgun with a revolving cylinder. Here's an example right here where I've taken the whole shotgun cylinder off and just replaced it with a PVC coupler, which allows me to use all different kinds of barrels to literally shoot anything I want. You want to make an attachment that shoots pieces of pepperoni at your friends or enemies, you know, go for it. So that's pretty sweet, but let's get back to the basics. First thing we need to do is pop open the blaster. But all we really need to do to increase the performance, you know, hugely on this blaster is plugging the pressure release valve, which is right here. The interesting thing about this one is that it functions with a simple spring and rubber gasket setup. That means you can find the right spring tension to stop at 8 pumps, it'll start releasing air, or at 10 pumps, it'll start releasing air. The more pressure that's in this tank, the harder it is to pull the trigger, and it'll hit a point where the blaster can no longer be fired. You'll have the trigger as far back as you possibly can, and the gun will not fire because rather than pushing in the button, it's just flexing through this arm and through the shell. And so there is a way to fix that. You know, you just have to glue all around this portion to really reinforce the shell, and you can also glue and reinforce the underside of this because we're doing so many of these, I'm just going to replace all of the springs. So that only got to 5, so that was not strong enough. So basically we just need to let the air out, and we'll try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hear it starting to leak. And if somebody pumps fast. So that lets it get way more pressure in the tank than it normally would. Let's go ahead and put everything back in the blaster because that's literally all you need to do to make this thing into quite a monster.
Alright, pretty sweet. Let's do the rest of them.
The next blaster that we're going to be modifying is the Boomco Halo Brute Shot. And it's a pretty standard blaster that takes the normal Boomco clips in the top here, and it's got a top prime, and you shoot. I like to try and race my fidget spinner here. Alright. Now we've got this butterfly open. So once again, we've got some pieces that are really not helpful to us. So we're gonna go ahead and ditch this little compartment. It's part of a trigger lock that won't let you fire the blaster unless there is a clip inserted. Piece out. This is the whole plunger assembly. I'll take this out just for now. Pop this off, and we've just got another little lever piece that is garbage. Just throw it over there. So now we get to go through the fun experience of trying to get this piece back in. It's not exactly complicated, it's just kind of annoying. Now we've got this kind of cool plunger tube, and it's cool because it's completely contained. This whole assembly is held together with heated push pins, and so we've got a push pin that goes in the top instead of a screw, so we can't take that out easily. And so the way that I like to do it is to actually take the O-ring off the front, just because we don't want to damage it. You know, normally when you cut a spring in the middle, you end up with something like that on the end. You see how it's missing a ring? So that will actually let us get in here, put it around the lip, and kind of thread the spring on. I can put the link to these down in the description box if you want to buy some of these. The bigger ones have a 25-pound compression capacity. And then you've got an extra spring on your hands. And so here's an extra spring right here. We can actually double up this spring with this other Boomco Blaster one. And so really, one extra spring will allow you to modify 2 blasters. So one pack of these that has 2 springs will allow you to modify 4 blasters. Here, let's go ahead and use this one first, and then you're going to clip off the end here and try not to get impaled on that piece of spring. And you do want to watch your fingers on these because the cut springs, when you cut them with the bolt cutters, are quite sharp, as evidenced by my cut on my thumb there, and hopefully not get shot in the eye with this again. Okay. Alright, come on. There we go. And reassemble our plunger tube. Now you probably can't see what I'm doing very well, it's a little tiny spring here. And I'm just trying to get it to go back onto the post. Yay! And there was much rejoicing. Let's go ahead and close it back up. Got our shell here. And there you have it. You might be interested to know that the Halo M6 and the Halo Plasma Pistol, they have different bodies but are almost exactly the same internally. So any of these mods that we're doing for this can be done exactly the same on one of these guys. And really, this is one of the most straightforward blasters to modify, except for one instance, which is getting the top slide off. Instead of screws up here, they mostly have done heat-formed push pins. So you can see there's the head of a pin right there, and then you've got one that goes through both sides of this front piece, and then a couple that are actually on the top as well. I just grabbed the bottom with either a thin set of pliers. This is a wire cutter, but I'm not actually cutting anything, I'm just holding onto it. Then I grab onto a hammer here, and you kind of pry the top piece off, like that. Wire cutter or whatever. Try to get some leverage. You kind of pull one of these sides out here. Yep, easy enough. Small screwdriver to kind of push this top pin out if you don't want to risk breaking it off in there. There we go. So, not too bad. Then you go ahead and you pop your Boomco blaster open. First thing, we can take this piece out right here. We can just get rid of that completely. This is part of a barrel lock mechanism that doesn't let you fire or deprime the blaster unless you have a dart loaded in the barrel. And then I also like to take off this piece right here, which is another kind of part of that same mechanism. But it also, if you can see, even though it's somewhat plugged from that plastic piece I just took out, that's a hole right there. And so we're going to be losing some air pressure in there. So I just take a pliers of some kind, and you can kind of just squeeze and break that off. It's really not that hard to do. And kind of start it on there, and go around a few times to plug up that hole. I like to take out this barrel post. I think it just gives you a slightly better airflow. Not anything major, but you can see how it's somewhat blocking the air channel there. And so you can just try and break it off if you get lucky. Little flat head, and kind of break those inside supports off. We're going to take one of these springs that we've talked about earlier, and I'm going to cut it just a hair lower than where the other one is, because the compression on these is insane. Put the cut end up that way towards the plunger head. Get our back piece right there. This piece sometimes falls out while you're working on it. It's kind of a rubber bushing that gives it a nice air seal between the barrel and the plunger tube. And just close it up. At this point you can always test it to see, make sure you did everything right. And that shoots crazy hard. Okay, so let's close it up now. Let's go ahead and do the rest of them.
Alright, can you eat some beans and rice?
you